You're listening to Inside Lebo, a podcast giving you an inside look at Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania, produced by Mount Lebanon's Public Information Office.
Hello and welcome to Inside Lebo. I'm your host, Assistant Municipal Manager and Municipal Planner, Ian McMeans.
And I'm Rachel Windsor, Mount Lebanon's Assistant Public Information Officer and the Senior Editor of Mount Lebanon Magazine. And today's episode is brought to you by Trouvers Jewelry. So today we are talking about a very special event coming up that mixes history, humor, music, and storytelling in a way that's perfect for kids and families.
That's right. Joining us today are Jenny Wood, the Programming Chair of the Mount Lebanon Historical Society, and Mick Sullivan, the creator of the Past and the Curious podcast and author of I See Lincoln's Underpants. So Jenny and Mick, thank you for joining us and welcome to Inside Lebo.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for letting us be here.
So before we jump into details, I just wanted to start with a fun question for each of you. So Mick, your show is about surprising history. What's one of the funniest or strangest facts you've come across?
Well, I just this week released a new episode, and it was a story that completely fascinated me. It was about Abraham Lincoln traveling for his first inauguration, and he trusted his son, Robert, with his speech. And it was like a really, really important speech. It's a pretty famous one. And his son lost interest in it at the first night in Indianapolis and left it at the front desk at the hotel to keep safe. And then when Lincoln came back from giving his speech, he panicked because he thought it had been stolen. And then when he found out it was hidden behind the front desk, he ran down the hall, and there's like dozens and dozens of people around, and he's completely embarrassing himself. And he like jumps over the front desk and just starts unlocking every bag that he can find until eventually he finds it. But it was a hilarious moment to me that I couldn't get out of my head.
That's great. So Jenny, since you are part of the Historical Society of Mount Lebanon's leadership, what's one Mount Lebanon history tidbit that might surprise people or is just a fun little story that you really like?
Sure. So as we were researching for our barrier-breaking women exhibit, we found out that Mount Lebanon was home to two female aviation pioneers in the late 1920s, early 1930s. So Jean Pickard Mahan is credited as being the first female in Pittsburgh to fly a helicopter, and she lived on Sunny Hill in Mount Lebanon. And then Louise Thaden was actually a nationally ranked aviatrix. She won the 1929 National Women's Air Derby, and she and her husband rented a home on McCully.
So awesome.
Wow, that's really cool and a great bit of history that you can always find these cool facts about Mount Lebanon's past. I know when I visited the Historical Society, one of my favorite things there is all the old medical equipment that they have from back around the time of Mount Lebanon's founding and before that, from this area that doctors would travel from house to house. And there's that great book, For Thine is the Glory, that was written about like doctors in the South Hills and things like that. So definitely worth checking that out too. So Jenny, my sidebar aside, let's talk a little bit about this event that's coming up. The Historical Society of Mount Lebanon is bringing Mick here for a live show at Mellon Middle School Auditorium on Saturday, October 4th. So why is it so important for us to host an event like this for the community?
So we are thrilled to host Mick and do one of our very first family-friendly programs. So the Historical Society has a lot of programming throughout the year. We do a monthly speaker series. We have several walking tours. We're also a research facility. We have an exhibit space with fantastic exhibits. But one of the big events that we do every year is, and actually we've had our second grade uptown walking tours for over 20 years. So every fall, every second grade student and in the Mount Lebanon Public School system comes through the History Center, and they do a great architectural walking tour of our uptown business district. And so we're just getting into walking tour season right now, and we thought this would be a really fantastic way to connect all of our Mount Lebanon families with some educational, historical, fun family programming. And my family and I have been a fan of Mick's and of the Past and the Curious for several years, so we're thrilled to have him here in Mount Lebanon.
Awesome. And it's not just for kids and families, right? Like, would history buffs and other people be interested in this event?
I think everybody will enjoy it. So while it is a kid and family podcast, I think anybody who has an interest in history, an interest in storytelling, an interest in music would love this event. My entire family, including grandparents, has listened to Mick's podcast on several road trips over COVID. It kept us sane and interested, so it's great for everyone.
That's really cool. So as a very good segue there, turning it over to you, Mick, for those who don't know about your podcast, tell us about The Past and the Curious.
Yeah, well, it's approaching its 9th year, so I've been at it for a while, and I'm a museum educator based in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's an extension of kind of work that I've done with kids. And so I have a big passion for history. I have a big passion for storytelling. And it's a monthly episode, and it's a monthly release, and every episode is very everything's themed together. So there's some unifying device that connects both of the stories. A recent episode might be Thomas Paine and Joseph Haydn, the composer. Both of them, we don't know where their bones are. So we can look at their lives and look at their impact in culture in a fun way. But then, the takeaway is also like, where'd they go? And so that's like one way to kind of look into the podcast. But it really is built for cooperative listening. I care about families engaging in learning together, and hopefully like sparking conversation or sparking interest. I hear lots and lots of people say exactly what Jenny said is, we'll listen in the car, and it might be like when they're going on a vacation, or if they're going to somewhere like Mammoth Cave. I have a story about Mammoth Cave, or if they're going to St. Louis, there's St. Louis stories, wherever it might be. In 9 years, I've covered a lot of ground and will continue to do so. But every episode is really nicely produced too. I'm a musician as well, so there's a lot of original music, and occasionally I'll feature musicians, and in that case, I'll also bring some of their actual music into it as well, which is something I'll be doing at the live show on October 4th here.
Awesome, that's great, and I think what you said really hits the nail on the head too about making the storytelling of history and making it accessible, because a lot of times those of us who went through school can remember history just being another boring subject. You just have to memorize facts and dates and what person did what thing. So I think making it more of a story and understanding the way it's delivered is really essential for especially young kids who are just starting to explore these topics as well. And personal note, Thomas Paine's my favorite founding father. So just interesting aside there.
Do you know where his bones are?
I do not know where his bones are, no, but the whole history of like the Common Sense pamphlet always just captivated me, so he's my favorite one. And of course, you've also written a book with one of the best titles ever, which is I See Lincoln's Underpants. So I have to ask, where did the title come from and why Underpants?
Well, the title just kind of made itself known to me. I see London, I see France, I see Lincoln's Underpants. But I found this story when I was reading a book about the Brooklyn Bridge, and Washington Roebling, when he was in the service during the Civil War, he witnessed Abraham Lincoln's wardrobe malfunction. Everyone saw his underwear, and it was very embarrassing for them. I think Lincoln probably laughed it off. But the story, I just couldn't get past it. And so then I was reading through more and more. I mean, I'm always reading, and I was writing episodes for the show and found more and more people from history that, had some sort of storyline where underwear was a part of their lives. And that in some cases, it's like Amelia Bloomer, who was a big leader in women's dress reform. And now, her name is sort of eponymous with a type of underwear. Not exactly. It's a little bit more like pants, but Marie Antoinette's story has a lot of underwear things, so it was a way for me to bring out the humor and also humanize these people, because we all wear underwear, right? I mean, it's a very common thing for all of us. But sometimes we might not think that these figures are as human as we are, when in fact they are and they were. So there's maybe that aspect of it, but also there's just the aspect of underwear is funny and people like to laugh at it. And if it gives you a reason to read a story about Garrett Morgan, an amazing inventor, or John Wesley Powell, an amazing explorer, then great, you learned their story, and also how it relates to underwear. So, I'm always looking for something like that.
That's great. And, speaking of interesting connections here too. So Roebling founded the little town of Saxonburg, which is just north of Pittsburgh, which is where I grew up. But he was the inventor of the wire rope and the architect of the Brooklyn Bridge. So look at this all coming together. So when we come back, we'll talk more about what families can expect at this special event in Mount Lebanon and why the program connects so beautifully with our community. So stay with us for more from Mick Sullivan and Jenny Wood right after a quick word from our sponsor.
Looking for that perfect piece of jewelry? At Truver's Jewelry, you're not just a customer, you're part of the family. Locally owned by Mount Lebanon residents Rob and Kay Truver, Truver's has specialized in exquisite craftsmanship and custom jewelry design for over 30 years. Rob is an expert goldsmith, ensuring your jewelry is created with the utmost skill and care. Whether you're looking for something timeless or one of a kind, Truver's delivers it all. Visit us at the corner of West Liberty and Piermont Avenue or check us out online at truvers.com. At Truver's, it's personal.
Welcome back to Inside Lebo. We're here with Jenny Wood, Programming Chair of the Historical Society of Mount Lebanon, and Mick Sullivan, creator of The Past and the Curious. So before the break, we learned about Mick's podcast and book. So now we're going to dive a little bit more into the live show that's coming to Mellon Middle School on October 4th. So Mick, what can families expect when they walk through the doors that afternoon?
We are going to be doing, we're going to learn a few stories with some images. It's a fun thing. We'll have some laughs. We'll also sing some songs. I'll probably, I've done shows in Chicago and Boston and St. Louis and Louisville and Paris, Kentucky, not Paris, France. But we'll, So it's a nice little 45-minute package that we've got, and there's going to be some unfamiliar people from history who did some really interesting things. I'll probably bring some props to go along with that, but it's fun. It's real dynamic storytelling, and then like I said, we'll sing a couple songs, which will make perfect sense historically when we do that. But the thing that I'm most excited about is a 15-minute musical storytelling performance that I'll probably end with. That's called The Longest Painting in the World, and it's about this man named John Banvard, who in the 1840s floated for about a year down the Mississippi River, drawing everything that he saw. And then he came back to my hometown here in Louisville and painted a moving panorama version of the Mississippi scenes. And it was like 1,300 or 1,400 feet long. And he turned it into a stage show. And after some hiccups, like wound up being world famous and wildly successful. But it was like such an imaginative way to tell a story and an imaginative way to show people the world at a time when that was really hard to do. His creativity is astounding to me. So I put together a show that has some basic animation, which I'm not a great visual artist, but it didn't matter. I just wanted to connect with kids on that level. While also I wrote music, which will be heard in addition to me playing mandolin live, sort of like I made some backing tracks or whatever. And then I tell the story all at the same time. So there's like kind of four things happening, weaving in and out of each other. And it's a really cool story, and it's thought provoking, and it tends to capture a lot of imagination, with kids. Cause, I don't know, it's such a, it almost seems quaint by today's standards, but it was pretty revolutionary at the time. And it's still usable. So yeah, it's going to be, we'll cover a lot of ground really fast and meet a lot of people and learn some songs and then see the longest painting in the world performance.
Cool. That sounds great. And like, it's going to be a lot of fun for kids, families, history buffs, and everyone else. And I love the idea of mixing music and history together. So Jenny, turning it back to you, what happens after the show?
So after the show, guests are all invited to come to our home at the Historical Society of Mount Lebanon, directly across the street from Mellon Middle School Auditorium at 794 Washington Road. Mick will be there, and we will be selling copies of his book, I See Lincoln's Underpants. So it'll be an informal, great way for families and kids to pick up a new book, hopefully spark some curiosity, meet with Mick, and have their book signed.
Awesome. And Mick, I'm curious, kids can sometimes ask some of the best questions. Do you have a favorite or funniest question that a kid has ever asked you at one of your shows?
I love questions that force me to go learn something. So someone asked me very, very recently the history of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I didn't know the answer to it, but I went and found some really great stuff, like including I learned that the first time anyone ever wrote anything, the first documented proof of the existence of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich was 1901, and it was 3 slices of bread, not 2. And you were also supposed to use like a weird curran jelly. So I think we've improved, but that's all. The questions that lead to a discovery, which kids are always thinking that way, are always the best.
That's great, and you're absolutely right. Kids can ask just the most fascinating questions about everything. I have several children, and they always ask me things just totally off the wall. My oldest son is also really into history, and we got him a book a few years ago on like the battles that change history. And one time he asked me, he's like, "Dad, who's your 3rd favorite Swedish general?" I'm like, "I don't know one Swedish general, let alone 3. So who's yours, buddy?" But yeah, things like that kids just take things and run with it, and it's great, especially when they latch on to something. So, Jenny, back to you. As the programming chair, how do you see this event connecting to the Historical Society's larger mission here in Mount Lebanon?
So our mission and our mantra is always to preserve, educate, reflect, and share the local history of Mount Lebanon with the community. And I think you can see just by having this conversation with Mick, what I love about his podcast is that he's able to connect unrelated periods of time by one common theme, and connect those stories together. And so this is a really unique opportunity to hopefully inspire curiosity in some of our younger community members, and help them understand that we are all part of history, and you don't have to have a history degree on your wall. It doesn't have to feel stuffy and formal to be interested in history and to engage with the world around you. And so this is the perfect opportunity for us to share and bring some of that curiosity to our community.
Awesome. And Mick, what do you hope that kids and families will take away from this experience?
With everything I do, I always want kids to, well, anyone really, to get excited about the past. And there's a reason. It's because there's just so many people that have dealt with similar things and done similar things and had similar goals and had great achievements or big flops. But through all time and through all cultures, people are people. And if you come to that realization, there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to take from and to shape your own life, and to shape your community, or sometimes just to have a laugh. But it can be a joy, and I want there to be more of that in the world too.
Awesome. Well, this sounds like such a really fun and meaningful event. And to recap, the Past and the Curious live show with Mick Sullivan is happening on Saturday, October 4th at 4 p.m. at the Mellon Middle School Auditorium. Tickets are available at lebohistory.org/events and cost $10 for adults, $5 for kids. Bundle pricing is available for families. Mick and Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in to Inside Lebo. Be sure to check out the Historical Society's website, lebohistory.org, and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Lebo History. You can also check out Mick's website at thepastandthecurious.com and his podcast available on most of the big podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, as well as subscribing for future episodes of Inside Lebo. So that's all for this edition of Inside Lebo, produced by Marsha Morgenstern, with music by Drew Monyo and graphics from Chris Leeper. As we said, be sure to subscribe. Check out our municipal website, mountlebanon.org, for more information on what's happening with the municipality, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Inside Lebo, produced by Mount Lebanon's Public Information Office. Learn more about all things Lebo at mountlebanon.org or by following our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages.